Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of JCT TV. I'm Joe Carroll. To my right is Henson Rosemond. To my left is his son, Mackenzie Rosemond. And that represents the family, a family presence here. And together we represent the family of man, the human family, in the larger context. Did I just say context?
Yeah.
Okay, so I gave away half of the topic today. Our topic today is content and context. And first of all, I'd like to give our thanks to Papa T for making this platform possible for us. Okay, so I want to thank Papa T for doing that. I want to give a shout out to Big Al on the production end of this show. He makes it happen behind the scenes. And also to Mike and the entire staff of Sky 13 for opening the doors and letting us come in and do this show. So guys, let's jump right into it here. Who wants to start off the show on the topic of content and context?
All right, so in terms of content and context, let's look at the definitions of the word. So content, this is the term, just layman's terms. Content is just the subject matter of something.
Okay.
Context would be how that subject is interpreted, right? So when you think of content in terms of a story, even whether that story be reality and or fiction, it's generally what is being presented to the general public or what might be presented to the audience in that matter. And context is really just how the one who's consuming that content is really interpreting it, how it is really just how it is coming towards them. That's why whenever someone talks about the context in which something is said, context can be played around with quite a bit. And I believe that even in just a lot of the events that we face in our current world, the context could sometimes be interpreted in almost any fashion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have so many people on this planet.
Yeah.
You want to jump off of that, Henson?
My contribution today, my content today rather, would be about the social problems we have in Connecticut, all over the world, with young people who are dealing drugs and killing one another. They need to start thinking outside of the box a little bit. Mm-hmm. If you look at the Mafia families, even if they're killing one another, but they always find a way to talk to one another before they start killing one another. Yeah. Young people today, they want everything that everybody else wants. It doesn't matter whether you have a high school diploma, whether you have a PhD, you want everything that everybody else wants. For examples, you want a car, you want a nice house, you want the best sneakers, you want everything everybody else wants. So the bottom line is, these guys are running a business. And when you start killing one another, you're affecting something. Politics come into play. You have the police on your back. You're running a business. And then you can't run your business anymore. So we know it's illegal. There are a lot of things that's illegal. For instance, liquor was illegal, and yet still it contributed to the economy of the United States. Not cocaine, poppy, what do you call it?
Heroin.
Heroin was illegal, and the British fought with the Chinese. They fought war with the Chinese because they wanted to sell it to the Chinese. So the bottom line is, start thinking outside of the box and say, how do we set up a system? It's not killing one another. We have a beef with another member of another gang, but we have a group of people that can reach out and start talking to one another and say, hey, let's see how we can resolve that problem. Because at the end of the day, they all want to make money so they can buy bread. When you look at their background, most of these guys get on money, they're not well educated, they don't even have a high school diploma, I've seen some of them on the street, 9 o'clock in the morning, they go to the store and buy a bottle of soda, and that's breakfast.
Yeah.
So they sit in the corner of the street and all day. Some of them achieve quite a lot of wealth, but they get greedy. And what happens? it's like dust in the wind. You look at the Mexicans, the Colombians, they become very famous for billions of dollars. Where is all of that? Dust in the wind. But if they change things around, start looking at, you do not want the government, you do not want the politics come into play. When you start shooting people, the same people who are voting for those representatives are the same people you're affecting. Then,
so you want everyone to effectively look at everything within the same context.
Right,
back to the
right.
Bring it to the subject matter.
Yes.
Look at certain content or the very content that we are all generally seeing.
Yes.
Within the same context, from the same lens.
Yeah, because you're creating imbalance. It's like a domino effect. They don't see that, okay, we sit, let's say, on the corner of Main Street. You have about 20 guys selling crap there. If they don't find that avenue, you know what they do? They break into your cars. If you look at what happened in 2019, they're breaking into people's cars here in Waterbury, Glastonbury, Connecticut, young people, because they had no avenue to make money. It don't matter what law we pass, this thing has been going on for hundreds of years, from Rome until today. There's no way we can change that, no way. But what we can do, we can learn to manage it if these guys are educated a little bit.
Well, key word there for me is education.
Yes.
If they're educated a little bit. Because, like for me, the term content refers to what I can see, what I can hold in my hands, touch, feel, whatever. I like to relate it to the fact that this world that we live in is the content in the larger context of what God's plan was. He had a plan for everything. He created an entire universe. He created worlds. He created us. We are the content in the larger context of the universe, as far as we can see. We can only expand our minds to include a universe. So, in terms of education, of educating people, if they had an understanding, a bigger understanding than what they currently have, they might be able to change their behavior, because their world, the content of their world is in such a small context that if they expand outside of that box that they're in and see things from a different perspective, they might be able to, look at their world and see things in a different context and go, maybe I could change and get a better outcome in my life, but they need to be educated. And in terms of what you were saying, Mackenzie, now I forgot my train of thought, so let me go back to you. And
I just want to add, whilst you're picking up your train of
okay.
thought, God gave man the free will. He created, but he gave man free will. What we need to do is, what our people need to do is manage their free will better.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say
absolutely.
yes, but to a certain degree, that is not always the easiest thing to do.
We know that.
Yeah, it takes, and if we look at your history, you've gone through quite a bit of martial arts training, right, in your history. So you have that level of discipline. In my background, I have the military, so a level of discipline, it's not naturally inborn in most people. Some people it does exist, right?
That's why education come into play.
That's exactly.
I think
when I use the
education,
word
because-
education, I'm not talking about academics there. Education is what you know.
So it could be a mentor
Yes.
guiding somebody. So I'm thinking, when you guys are talking about that subject, I'm thinking about the guys that I see. If I'm driving through downtown Waterbury or any large city, you just see people hanging around, right? In front of liquor stores, in front of convenience stores, anywhere.
Because they don't know the value of their time.
Exactly. There's no purpose. There's no larger purpose in
that
their
seems
life.
to be guiding them.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's no larger context. Their context is the world right around them.
That's very good.
And how do I survive in this world right around me? You know, they have not adopted, I won't say that they haven't been taught a certain way of looking at life, but they have not adopted an overall picture of life that says to them, gee, if only I would think about the other people around me before myself, what would that do? You know? And if somebody could come into their life and give them this little bit of instruction and show them why they're telling them this, it might spark an interest in them to expand their thinking.
Life is about steps. The different steps.
Well, I would like to go on piggyback on what you said when you talk about mentorship and how these people may not have mentors. I would say that in terms of their content that they experience, they do have mentors. Just are their mentors the right kinds of people?
Okay, good point.
You think about it, because we all have mentors from our parents. Even if they're not there, that is teaching us something. You see? Let's put into the example of an orphan. An orphan who was just dropped off into the orphanage. They never knew their blood mother and father.
Mm-hmm.
However, even just through that, they're being taught, okay, my blood mother and father didn't want me, my adopted parents, while they do want me, we are not related. So that just teaches them, and that puts something within their mind, whatever it may be. That is their first little bit of mentorship.
Yeah.
And that is the first content that they experience in their life. Therefore, I would argue that these people that you're talking about, as you see, they do have mentors. It's whether or not their mentors experienced the right mentorship themselves and then passed it down.
I would like to add something to that. I would make a proposition here that the Department of Social Services, every young man and woman who reach at the age of bearing a child, they should have some sort of how to raise a child. They should have a course.
Child rearing course.
Yes, they should have a child bearing course. Wearing, sorry. They should have a child wearing course. That should be part of the new thing to come in. Why, in time, 20 years from now, it's going to help a lot of the way we see things around, the way young people think.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking about changing the context of what they are growing up in.
Yes.
Yeah. Adding on different levels of mentorship to what you were saying earlier. It would go and change their context of life, their context of how they see having children, the context of sex in general.
Exactly.
Practicing more safe sex, and then seeing, even if they have outside mentors who are trying to pull them maybe away from, let's say, the education or a more positive knowledge that might even help them grow. They have other outside sources and other outside influence of knowledge that maybe adds to their context of life.
Well, yeah, I mean, all of the self-help gurus are teaching even adults to do exactly that. Get a mentor, learn new things all the time, keep reading, read. And what I see as one of the biggest problems, though, because I've thought about, okay, what I would love to do is go downtown and find a group of guys or ladies or whatever that are hanging out, doing nothing, and walk up to them and start talking to them. And that's as far as I get in my mind, but I would love to do that because first I could learn something from them, like why they're there, why they're doing that. But also it could start a dialogue where I could present things to them that may inspire them or give them something to think about.
Yeah, because it is part of the society. Whether it's negative or positive, it affects everybody.
And as far as what schools teach and Department of Social Services, for me, we're dealing with government organizations that are not very friendly to religious concepts or the concept of a creator. Everything is in terms of their context is the physical plane that we are on.
The religious concept the way it's being presented in the wrong way. It should be presented as a way of life, a philosophy.
Exactly.
If you look at Japan as an example, Japan has no natural resources, yet still Japan is one of the most richest countries in the world because of the way they think. The economics is based on a thinking economics and not a religious economic.
Yeah, I agree. As much as I was raised, I can't say I was raised in a religious household because I was really the only one that adhered to any kind of religion. But the dogma that religions put out is not good. It kind of defeats the purpose of religion.
I agree with that.
I do agree with you that it's a way of life. And it's even more than that, in my opinion. It's an understanding of something beyond what we have. And we can't see love, we can't see our mind, we can't see heart. We can see our physical heart, but we can't see heart. When somebody is heartistic, we can't describe that. You know, there's no definition for that. So these things, and the fact that we do have free will, to me, just indicates that there is something higher than us. And if we could show people, mostly by example, that doing something for someone else provides you with a greater source of satisfaction and enjoyment than just going after something for yourself, then I think we would be on the right track to changing people's thoughts and opinions.
So your idea of, let's say, using religion to go and provide a certain positive content for everyone, and increasing the levels of selflessness versus selfishness.
Yes, and not using religion though.
Not using
religion. Using the concepts, the lessons, the underlying teachings, the basic teachings that survive the eons, you know, that are still around. Because you don't need a religion. Ethical people exist without religion.
It's just removing
Good
that
people,
dogmatic
honest
stigma
people.
that religion has.
Yeah. So let's pick up this conversation later, and we are now going to turn it over to Papa T, who's going to take us to a one-on-one interview, I believe.
Yep.
Let's see how that goes. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this topic of
Shout
content
out to all
and
the
context.
solutions who's supporting us, and Papa T and Daniel.
There you go. All right.